Ladies and gentlemen, today I'm joined with very special guest, former UFC fighter and now head coach at Great British Top Team, Brad Pickett. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming on. Obviously, UFC London not being far past Nathaniel Wood beating Andre Philly, being a coach and being someone put there part of Nathaniel's career every step of the way. What was the emotions like after that big win?
It was good. It was obviously as a coach myself. Uh, I also being a fighter. I know what these kind of mean to people. Winning and losing, how much it means, especially at that sort of level. So emotions always running high. Like for me, I win as a team and lose as a team. So and also with the fan, also have a little bit of a special connection with him and stuff. And so I know how much it means a lot to him. And I mean, especially with not being able to fight in the one before, but getting injured. Uh, yeah, so it was a good one for him to get back in. It performed well and come away with the victory.
You feel like Nathaniel's a bit of your protege, being a former 135-pounder like yourself.
Yeah, because obviously throughout in my fighting career, he was a training partner of mine. I brought him to the gym and stuff like that early on when he was younger, kind of thing. And I helped him progress throughout his career. Even while I was still fighting, I helped him a little bit. Obviously, I did go away and train myself, American top team, but I helped him in a lot of ways. He used to like, we used to travel. We used to travel from where he lived near me, and I used to travel like an hour and a half up North London to train. He used to jump in the car with me, and I'd drive him there, and we'd train, and I'd drive back. So it's just like, yeah, it was fed off a lot. I helped, and he was also asking loads of questions, always, uh, fight related or not fight related. I think I educated the fan in a lot of ways. It's about life. Yeah, so that's when we had a good bond from that. And obviously, when I finished fighting, it was just yeah, it's just natural to continue coaching for myself, and then obviously being coaching him.
When you talk about Nathaniel learning a lot from you, when he was on here, he was saying there was no better person from him to learn from than yourself. He was number five in the world when he came into your gym, whether that was from weight cutting, fighting, or the experience you had that he could take on, and even from promotional aspect. Do you think it's important for young fighters to have someone like yourself, someone they can look up to and learn from?
Well, hey, there's this conception that obviously being a really good fighter doesn't make you a good coach, and being a really good coach doesn't make you have to be a good fighter. So it doesn't always come hand in hand. I think being a good coach, you have to have a lot of emotional intelligence, knowing how to get the best out of certain individuals. But obviously, it does help, right? That I've been there and I've done that and I've got the t-shirt. Because if I say to you, hey guys, I know what you're feeling, and it's kind of quite reassuring. Or if I say to you, hey, by the way, this is what I do, I've done this in my fight, they're like, okay, cool. It's not theory based. It's whatever I showed people, I've pulled off at the highest level. So it's kind of like, has that thing, but that doesn't mean there's so many great coaches out there who don't have much combat experience as well. They're very good tacticians and stuff like that. So I think it's yin and yang. Um, yeah. So I think it does help though that one, I think I have a very good emotional intelligence, and then also two, I've been there and yeah, and yeah, I know what they're going through.
Obviously, being a coach now from a former fighter, what are the differences? You talk about emotional intelligence, but what are the other differences from being a coach to a fighter?
To be a good fighter, you have to be selfish. To be a good coach, you have to be selfless. They're the biggest things. If you can balance that up, and get the balance right, you'd be good. Because as a fighter, when I say it's a very selfish thing, it doesn't mean you have to be a dick about it, but you have to think about your number one. You're the most important person. You're like, well, how am I going to get my best training in? What am I going to do, what am I going to do for me? But when you're a coach, it's like, what can I do for this guy? What can I do for that guy? What can I do for this? How can I help these people out? So, and that's very a selfless thing. You can't be a selfish coach because then you're just not helping anyone out. When you're a fighter, if someone goes, "Hey, look, you know, how did you do that to me?" Or what do you do? As a fighter, some fighters be like, "I ain't showing you my stuff." But as a coach, I got to show you everything. I want you to learn because it's a reflective of my coaching. If you're fighting and you're getting choked out every 2 seconds, it looks bad on me. So I've got to be showing you how to defend a rear naked choke. So being a coach it's all about the fighters.
Post retirement in 2017, do you always see coaching being the next natural progression in your career?
It was for me when I was fighting, and when I say I traveled a lot to out to American top team, and I pick up a lot of knowledge and stuff like that. And I used to always come back and share my knowledge with my team and stuff like that. So I think like picking up traveling what I had done and like helping out other fighters within my gym, coaching became very natural to me. Like I enjoyed it, and I liked it when if I catch someone or I'm doing something to someone in the gym and they're making mistakes, afterwards like, hey mate, yeah, you got to be careful of this, you got that. So coaching became very natural to me to help people out and stuff like that. So yeah, I kind of it just felt natural to me to open my own gym and carry on coaching.
During the heights of your career, you got a win against Demetrious Johnson. Seeing what he went on to do in his own career, would you say that's your biggest win of your career?
On paper, I guess so. At the time, I beat some guy who was a prospect, and in my head, I was going to smash him, and I smashed him, and that was it. And then he's gone on and done great things. But I'd like to think I was a part of that journey because you learn a lot. You learn a lot from losses. You do. Like, he definitely learned a lot from that, and he went on and done great things. Yeah. So, but obviously, a lot of people say that, obviously because what he's done, but at the time, I just be a young prospect.
Obviously, during your career, you've had quite a decorated career. You've fought on some huge cards, whether that was UFC 189, McGregor Mendes, Anderson versus Bisping in the UK, or when Conor fought in Dublin. Which one of those cards were the most memorable for yourself?
I got a few in different ways. So the one Conor versus Mendes was a good one because that was the MGM and just the weigh-ins. I mean, there was like 10,000 people are weighing. Like it's just massive. It's just cool to be part of that kind of thing. But then for me, the best kind of ones for me was always finding the O2. That's my stomping ground. That's where I'm from. And I love finding the O2. Like even retiring the O2, it was a very memorable moment for me. Like yeah. So O2 has a special place in my heart. But find the one on the UFC 196, I think it was, or I can't remember when Mendes versus McGregor. Yeah, that was a special card.
Did you feel any pressure when you fought in the O2, being an English fighter?
Yeah, I always put pressure on myself as a competitor. You always do, but you don't overwhelm. You don't want to overwhelm yourself. But I always put pressure on myself to perform, and not even just to win, to perform and look good, and put on a good show for the fans. I was very much when I was fighting a fans fighter, where if I think the fight's been a bit boring, I would let my guy loose from me on the floor. If I'm controlling the guy on the floor too easily, and I think this fight's looking a bit boring, I'll cut him loose and we'll just let's duke it out a little bit. Obviously, as a coach, I'll tell me about that what you're doing. But as a fighter, I was very aware if my fight is crowd pleasing or not, and I'll act accordingly.
Obviously, you talk about being a fan favorite fighter. Dana White stated that you was one of his favorite fighters to watch. When you get that kind of recognition from the boss, is that an accomplishment in itself?
Of course, to be in any job you have, if you're fan, if the boss is a fan of you or is really happy with your work, it kind of makes you feel good about it, right? Because you want to keep your bosses happy. You don't want a boss that hates you because he's just gonna, yes, just it's your work and it's gonna make your day hard, life hard. So if you have a boss that appreciates what you do, you're like, great, and it also kind of keeps you. You're not worried about losing your job as such. Like even sometimes when in the UFC, if you lose a fight, you're like, am I going to get cut? For me, I'm like, I wasn't too worried if I lost a fight because I knew I'd fight how I want to fight and I fight well and put on a show. And don't get me wrong, the sport's hard, right? It's like you have to be entertaining because it's an entertainment sport, but you can't keep losing. And you can't keep winning and be the most boring person in the world, because when you lose, you get cut. Or if you keep winning, you just be on undercards and not get no promotion. So you have to win and kind of be entertaining and have that kind of balance.
You talk about being entertaining and winning. Do you think that's what helped you being in the WEC and the UFC era from 2009 to 2017?
Yeah, no, 100%. So, I think I had 4 fights in the WC, and I think I hit 3 bonuses. And then I had my first 6 fights in UFC, hit 5 bonuses. So I was a bit of a, this is why Dana liked me, because I was always in these kind of fights. And I say to this day, I could fight when I was competing. When I could fight number 1 in the world, and I'd be in a really competitive, entertaining fight, and I could fight some customer off the street and somehow get myself in a fight. No matter who I fought, I'll get into a fight. So it was always a roller coaster being a One Punch Pickett fan.
But you talk about fighting a number one contender and being in a close fight, then fighting someone maybe low in the rankings and being in a close fight, maybe losing it. Do you think that's maybe what hindered your chance of getting a title shot when it came to those
Well, no,
fights?
'cause I had throughout my career, I had four title eliminator fights. One in the WC when I fought Scott Jorgensen. If I'd have beat him, I would have got a title shot. He beat me. He fought Dominic Cruz. And then I went into the UFC. My UFC debut, I co-main and evented with Henan Barao. If I would have beat Henan Barao, I would have got a title shot. He beat me. He got the title shot. Then I went away. I won a couple more fights again. Then I was there in that sort of place again. Then I fought Eddie Wineland. I lost a split decision to Eddie Wineland, which I thought I won, but I lost a split decision. He went and got a title shot. And then my last one, when I fought Michael McDonald, same thing. I had a couple of wins, and I was in that boat again. And I lost to Michael McDonald. He got a title shot. And that's why I went down to flyweight, because I'm like, I'm not going to get any more chances at this. And I'm getting older. And because I had that win over Demetrious Johnson, I'm like, well, let me go down a weight class and try and be. I didn't want to be that guy when I get older, be that, guy, if I beat Demetrious Johnson, if I went down a weight class, I'd beat him again and I could have been a world champ. I didn't want to be that guy where woulda, shoulda, coulda. I wanted to do everything I could do within my time as a fighter to try and be number 1 in the world. I was always competition driven. I was never really motivated by money, fame, whatever like that. It was always about, I wanted to be number 1 and beat the best guys. So that's why I went down a weight class, and I gave it a shot. The weight class for me didn't suit my style. They were just running and running away, hitting me, running, and it's just like, oh my God. So for me, that weight class, it was like more of a case where it was just frustrating for me, where I felt like if you put me in a room with any of those guys in that weight class and you gave one of us a key, I would come out of that room. But over a course of 15 minutes, hitting me and running, just running away and avoiding to fight just wasn't fun. So when I lost a split decision versus Chico Kumis, which I thought I won that fight as well, to be honest. But then when I lost that fight, I kind of, in my eyes, the title shot at that weight class just went. So I'm like, well, I'm going to go back up to bantamweight. And that's why I finished off my career.
Do you find cutting weight to 125 hindered your performances, draining all that water out of your body?
No, not really. My weight cuts were the same. My dieters were different. I had to diet a lot more out. It was a job. But like I say, I was very motivated by getting a title shot at that weight class. So I didn't care. I would have done it. What hindered me was just the styles of matchups. Like people just, let's say, hit one, and avoided a fight. And people knew me how I wanted to fight. I just wanted to fight. So like for me, like if it was like a world championships in a phone box, I'd be world number 1. If you just had to fight inside a phone box, I'd have loved it. That close encounter, but just how big the cage was, and just running away. It just wasn't fun for me. You know?
Being one of the people that have pioneers of English MMA, yourself, Dan Hardy, and Michael Bisping, when you see this new generation, whether it's Leon Edwards, Thomas Bernal, Nathaniel Wood, or Arnold Allen, or even like someone like Muhammad Mokayev coming through, do you have pride in seeing these guys coming through?
Yeah, of course. Isn't like but people like Bisping. Obviously, Bisping's the front runner. Obviously, he's done tremendous throughout his career. Had a great career, and then also getting a belt at the end of it was just absolutely amazing for him. You know, but obviously, people like myself, Dan Hardy, Paul Daly, Ross Pearson. We even go back in the day, like people like Ian Machine Freeman. It wasn't a career path for us. You know, it wasn't really, especially me. My weight class didn't even exist in the UFC when I was competing, so it was never really a dream for me to fight in the UFC. So like we us lot kind of carved a path how to make money, how to do this, how to make this a sport. So when I was doing it, it was just a bit of fun. But now some young athlete can walk into my gym and go, I want to be a fighter. And there's a legitimate career path for you. You do this as an amateur, you do this, that. You could go IMFs and do IMFs, come back, and then you go on the local scene, you try and win some belts here and there, and then there's a path for you. You know,
Yeah.
it was been done 100 times. You know, but when I was doing it was like, yeah, it wasn't that easy.
You talk about when you started, you made your debut in 2004, I believe. Did you have people back then saying, like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah, 100%. I had to try and explain to people. I remember when I was explaining to people, they're like, "Is that legal?" And I'm like, "Yeah, no, it's legal. It's a sport." You know, like like, and it's how I tried to explain to them. I found it kind of like quite challenging. Not challenging. I like the challenge. I mean, like where to change people's perception of the sport, because I'm not a thug. I'm not just roided up with skinheads and tattoos. I didn't come from a really bad background. I'm not like from the hood and kind of thing. So I had a good loving family, and I was just a competitive athlete, and that's what I got put me into the sport. For me, it was like I found it quite good to try and challenge people and change people's mindset. You know, they'd be like, "But why are you so nice?" I'm like, "Well, for me, honestly, it wouldn't feel natural for me to go punch someone in the street. Why would I do that? You know, like I fight as an athlete, but obviously it's a good skill to learn, and I use it as a vigilante tool where I would look after people who can't look after themselves, of course. Um, but yeah, I enjoyed changing people's perceptions of the sport.
Do you think as your career develops throughout the 2010s and 2017 leading up to your retirement, the perception changed when people were like, this is a career for you, instead of what the hell are
Yeah,
you
hundred
doing?
percent. I think yeah, but even when I met my wife now, back in the day, I've been with Sarah, my wife, 17 years. But when I started with her, she comes from like Wimbledon. She went to private school. Her brothers went to private school, and being with her family is like, and they're like, and this is way before it was in the USA and earning money, and I was with her. Um, it was challenging because they obviously, I get it, I'm a parent now, so you want the best for your child, so you kind of like you want them to go with a doctor or a lawyer or something like that. And when she's dating a cage fighter, they're like, where's this gonna go? You know, like, and then it took a long time in that aspect. You know, a little bit old fashioned, I guess, but I understand it. But it took some time to when they realize, oh, because they like me. Once you got to know me as a person, they like me as a person. But there was always concern like how would I be able to, like support my family and that sort of stuff. And then when they start seeing me earning good money from fighting, they're like, oh, wow, okay, cool. This is how serious. So it took a bit of time, to win the family over. So yeah.
During your fighting career, did you have any like guilty pleasures, whether that was shows, music, or anything that you would like to watch and enjoy?
I want to know what do you mean by guilty pleasure? Is that
Like,
something you should? Me,
That's
okay, I was a geek, 100% a massive geek, if that's a guilty pleasure. I loved video games. I played video games. I still to this day, I'm a massive nerd. I played World of Warcraft for like 8 years. I was sponsored by Blizzard and Alienware laptops throughout my fighting career. So that was my guilty pleasure. I was an absolute geek. I used to get up in the morning, have a little game, go train, come back, play some games lunchtime, go train again, come back and play games at night. It's good.
Did that help feed your competitive spirit, as you were saying earlier when you were competing?
Well, yeah, I could be in anything. So like I am very competitive. Games I was playing though wasn't as a bit more relaxing. So I was playing like World of Warcraft and stuff like that, which is competitive but not super competitive, right? Where if I play Call of Duty, I'll be like, you get rage,
Yeah.
because I hate losing. If I play you at chess, I want to win. Or if I play you at anything, I want to win. And like, yeah, so I think you can't lose that World of Warcraft as such. I did do arena, and I actually got quite high in arena. I was 2.2k away. If you know it, you know. But Call of Duty, you can lose, and some days you have a good day, and some days you have a bad day. So yeah,
I mean, I count that as a guilty pleasure.
yeah.
Obviously, weight cutting back when you was fighting in the early 2010s and 2000s, is it completely different to now how you see Nathaniel weight cut?
Yeah, I mean, the sport has got alone has got so much more professional. But back when I used to cut weight, we used to get like put baby oil on us and stuff like that, just to try and clog your pores. It's the same principle as what Sweet Sweat does, but then we didn't have things called Sweet Sweat. But we used to rub baby oil on our bodies and stuff like that. And not many people cut weight that much, or didn't do it properly. So I remember going out to first time me going out to America, and I remember meeting Mike Brown. We're best friends now and stuff. But I remember the first time I met Mike Brown, I was chatting to him, and I was like, "Oh God, what weight do you fight?" He goes, 66 kilos. No, he says featherweight. And I'm like, "What? Featherweight? I'm featherweight." He's, yeah. I'm like, "What? What are you on about?" He was massive, and I'm like, "What is going on here?" So like back in England, yeah, we didn't cut that much weight. I remember, and then I used to be, I was underweight most of the time because it wasn't when I first started fighting. 60 kilos was the smallest weight class. I remember walking around less than that and fighting still at 66 kilos. I got bigger over the years, um, but yeah, it's like the sport in itself. I was just out this week actually. So it was last week. This week at Contenders, and I went to the PI for the first time. Yeah, and yeah, it's just amazing. And it's just seeing how I wish I had this when I was a fighter. And also when you fight in the UFC, they help you out with all your nutrition. They help you out with your. It just I had to deal with all this stuff myself. I had to sort out my nutrition, my wake up, my rehydration. I had to get it all sorted out myself. Where now it's kind of when UFC it's all done for you. And I'm like, lucky bastards. Like, and also like when you're in the PI, you could get free treatment. You could get free strength conditioning. You get all these people around you want to test you. I'm just like, man, I wish I had this when I was fighting.
You think that's what makes this generation of UFC fighters and athletes so good, that they have that nutrition, massage, everything available
So
to them?
it's not even just in our sport. You just look at sports across the board, rugby, football. As human beings, the science behind fighting is got so much better. The nutrition's got so much better. Strength and conditioning got so much better. That's why, as humans, we get so much better. When we learn how to train as hard as we can and learn how to recover the best we can, we're going to do more things. When you look at footballers back in the day, would smoke, drink, like Paul Gascoigne, go party, and still great. They're still great football players, but they wouldn't last in today's game. not skill set, yes, 100%, but not the physicality of the sport. Yeah, how hard they're trained. Paul Gascoigne will keep up with the training sessions they do nowadays, the training, how much they do, but unless they have the right nutrition, the right kind of thing, that's when the sports science behind nutrition and that behind any athlete in sports is amazing now.
As well as MMA, do you watch any other sports in your spare time?
Uh, yes, not as much as I used to. And to be honest, I don't even watch MMA that much anymore. Reason this is I watch too much of it. So I work as a commentator for ACA. So I do a lot of research before the shows to see who's fighting on the card. So I watch loads of fights. Then also I have loads of fighters here who are always fighting. So I have to watch their opponents and stuff like that. And I'll watch their fights back. So I watch a lot of fights. So in my spare time, I'm like, I don't know watch any more fights. I will watch some UFCs, the big ones, stuff like that. But in my spare time, I like, part of me just wants to switch off from fighting because I watch so much fights anyways, absorbed. So yeah, so sometimes I just need to spend some time with my family and stuff like that.
During your MMA career, you made your debut in 2004, you finished your career in 2017. During that 13-year span, what lessons did you learn from MMA that you took into your normal everyday life?
I don't know. I'm not saying I probably had it before I fight anyways. Just hard work, discipline. You have to have discipline, like self-control, like something like that, you you got to stay on the path. Sometimes you will veer off a little bit here and there, but you got to realize it's a grind. Life in general is a grind. No matter what you do, right, it's a grind. Even if you enjoy it as much as you do, it's still a grind. Like what you're doing now, you're doing your podcast and that. You enjoy it, obviously. But sometimes it feels like a grind. But if you just stop, it's all for nothing. So for me, you got to try and find a grind that you enjoy. Then it's not as much of a grind. People who work 9 to 5s and stuff like that, they don't like their jobs. That job is a grind and they hate the grind. If you find a job that you like, it's still a grind, don't get me wrong, but it's a grind that you can enjoy and do more and get better. Right? It's like you're gonna go do it more and more and more. So you always that's why I say find a grind that you enjoy and make it a job.
Well, Brad, I think that's a beautiful note to end it on. So thank you so much for your time. I truly
No problem
appreciate
at all.
it.
Thank
I'll let
you.
you get back to coaching.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.